Welcome to War Games. We will get you ready for your next sales opportunity. Are you looking to win the sales battle? You have joined the right team. Here on the War Games Group, we take the strategies and mindsets from the most successful salespeople and share it with you. With our help, you won't have to fail your way to the top. When it comes to crossing the minefield of sales, step in the footprints of those that crossed before you. Prepare yourself for boot camp and beyond. It's time for War Games to begin.
Shall we play a game?
Welcome, War Gamers. It's me, Joe, but you knew that. So I want to say welcome to everybody coming in on War Games today. I am thrilled today because of who we get to talk to. And you guys will be like, what, Joe? I already saw the intro. I know exactly who we're looking for. I'm going to throw some VIPs up on the screen here. Okay, say hi. Everybody's smiling. I'm going to make myself larger because, ego. And then I'm going to tell you guys, okay, so listen to this, right? I was lucky enough through a mutual friend, Bob Donnell, both my bride Netta and I, went to dinner one night, and this individual walked in the room, and it was like, okay, there's people that walk in and just, they come in and you look and go, there's greatness that has just entered, okay? And the best part is that he doesn't even walk in like he owns the room. He walks in, and you're just like, boom, there is a presence. There is somebody there, okay? And I'm talking about Kyle Wilson. And I want to give you a little bit of feedback on Kyle. So Kyle worked with Jim Rohn International, okay? And so Kyle is one of these guys. Now, Jim Rohn, famous, everybody knows, hey, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, okay? So I want to list off some people that call Kyle Wilson friend, okay? So you can understand where we're at. But Jim Rohn called him his friend. Og Mandino, for anybody who has ever read an Og Mandino book, know how great this individual is. Brian Tracy, we all saw him on Ken Walls' show recently. He was on that one. Okay. Les Brown and Darren Hardy. All of these people. So I just listed 5 people that are calling Kyle Wilson friend. So that should tell you the realm and the sphere of people that he draws to him. That was nice, Margot. Oh my God. Yeah. Brian Tracy said that Kyle himself has made me millions. Okay. So I am thrilled, and I'm just going to throw him on the screen really quick because it's Kyle Wilson. I'm so excited. Kyle Wilson is here. He is now down there at the bottom. Kyle, switch with me so you can brag on you a little bit. Now, Kyle himself sold his company back in 2007 and then said, I'm going to help other people to become wealthy. I'm going to help people to be the best version of themselves. He's already helped over 200 people become best-selling published authors. Okay, so near and dear to my heart. Okay, the let's make people, actual, the top people in the publishing world, which is no simple feat. Okay, and then he's also got his Inner Circle Mastermind. Okay, where you get to bounce ideas off of Kyle Wilson. You get to learn from him directly. If you guys look behind him at the books that are on this shelf and all of the things that are there, I mean, there's CDs for those of you that are millennials going, I don't know what those things are in the background. Yes, but guys, he has accomplished so much, and he's not even done. And that's why I think that this is going to be one of those times where you say, wow, this episode of War Games changed me. And I just want to say, Kyle Wilson, welcome. Thank you for taking time out today to come spend time with us.
Wow, Joe, thanks so much. The honor's all mine. And, I popped on and I had this bright light that I can't figure out because all my lights are off. I'm tempted to go cut off a lamp, but I don't want to knock my screen off, but let's give it a shot.
Okay, we can do that. It could be just me smiling that's causing all the bright lights.
Oh, that doesn't help. Okay. But the thing I didn't get to do that I really want to do is tell Netta hi. Hi, Netta. Yes. I remember meeting you And then meeting Joe and some other amazing people when Bob had me come speak at his group, and it was awesome. And Joe, it's my honor. You just want me to jump in?
I just want you to jump in. So I'm going to throw comments up periodically as we go through, but to me, they know me. They get to listen to me a lot, right, as they go through. And I think the value is in the guests that we're bringing on board. So Michael is out there saying, now that's a great book background right there. So,
well, I created all these, by the way. Every Jim Rohn product, every Brian Tracy, Mark Victor Hansen, any of these products you see in the back were intellectual properties. When I sold the company, I had over 300 intellectual properties. I'm going to tell some of those stories. And, all the people you were talking about are in this book. Les Brown, Brian Tracy, John Assaraf, Mark Victor Hansen, Todd Stoudemire, this Phil Collin of Def Leppard. And they did it. They were all on my podcast and they were all just friends. And someone said, how did you get all these New York Times bestselling authors to give you permission to be a celebrity authority in one of your books? And, it gets back to relationships. These are all people I've worked with 25 years. And I'm going to share some of that secret sauce today. I call myself a principle-based marketer. And when you're principle-based, things tend to compound. I tend to fish, not hunt. And I am in sales. I'll tell you my sales story. But selling, again, it's so much better when people refer you and give you testimonials. And then it's compounding. So that's kind of where I come from in the marketing world. I am going to kind of share my story. So I am going to do a PowerPoint. And we'll give this a shot, Joe. But if it doesn't work, I'm happy to do it without a PowerPoint. But does that come up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
You have to click share.
I know what happened. That's what happened.
I feel better because I look like Kyle all the time when I'm going back and forth. When you're on one screen, it's like, oh, where's this? Where's this button? Yeah, normally in my office, my camera sets up right in front of me so that I have to go, the TV is behind you. Yeah. Now look at that. We have screen.
Okay, now let me try and make it one. How's that?
That's perfect.
Now, Joe, the way I have mine on a computer screen, then I have a monitor, but I'm seeing both. So I don't really see you guys. So I won't see the comments for a little bit. So give me a heads up and say, hey, Kyle, you got 10 minutes left or 5 minutes.
Sure.
I could talk for a long time, longer than people want me to. I'll try and be cognizant. But I also, Joe shared a lot about this group, and I want to make sure what I share will be valuable for the group. I talk a lot about who is your avatar, who's your secret sauce. And part of my secret sauce is I have these amazing people. Darren Hardy that I coached, who calls me, his go-to guy, and Eric Worre that just had me out at his place in Las Vegas, his new 15,000 square foot house. And we did a 2-hour podcast, as I did with Darren as well at his house, and Brian Tracy at his house, and Dennis Waitley. So that's part of my secret sauce. So I don't know if we'll have time, Joe, but I talk about the 4 things for your website. And, one of them is social proof and having hooks. So if someone looks on here and says, oh, I'm a fan of Jeffrey Gitomer, I know Gitomer, or Tom Ziegler, or John Lee Dumas, or obviously Jim Rohn is the thing that's nearest and dearest to my heart. But there will be hooks, and now we have a connection. And so that's the first thing you see when you go to my website. Thanks to Joe for having me today. I'm honored to be here. I call myself an entrepreneur, a marketer, a strategist. I'm not a speaker. Joe can tell you that when he first met me. I'm uncomfortable speaking, if I'm being candid. I put on mega events, 2,000, 3,000 people, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley at my big 3-day events, Hollywood Film Cruise. And no one even knew it was my event. It was my list. It was my audience. I hired the speakers. I filmed it. I own the intellectual property, and yet I would have someone else do all the introductions. And I'll share more about why that is in a minute. But speaking's a bit uncomfortable, but I get the importance of influence. I get the importance of putting yourself out there and not letting your ego get in the way, because it's really our ego that has us step back. It's our ego that doesn't want to be judged, that has us diminish ourselves. So, oftentimes people think, well, Joe's so whatever because he puts himself out there. It's really the opposite. When you put yourself out there, you're almost being egoless because you're willing to take judgment, and but your goal is to impact people. So that is my goal. And so I'm not a speaker, but I do have some good ideas to share. I want to bring a ton of value. These are the same strategies I used to build an 8-figure business, but I've worked with a lot of other people. Darren Hardy, he's given me multiple testimonials, most recently on video, just saying I'm the big part of his hero's journey and helped him build a mega business. But this is talking about me coaching him on marketing, but also saving him money. Brian Tracy on making over $1 million. I've done probably 50 events with Brian over the years. And this was when we did a 20-year anniversary of a thing we co-created called the Success Mastery Academy. Les Brown, one of my good friends, and I'll share more about Les. Mark Victor Hansen, who I did Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur Soul with, and Eric Worre. But here's the guy that really impacted my life. Jim Rohn, my 18-year friend, mentor in business. And I'm going to share a little bit about that. And here's something most people don't understand. The company was my company. I'll get to that in a minute. But I had to constantly pull Jim to have more influence. Like, he would turn down book deals I would put together. He would turn down interviews. He really was a very, very private person. And he would tell me, Kyle, I want to be the guy that impacts the few that impact the many. And boy, has he done that. Tony Robbins, Darren Hardy, Les Brown, Hal Elrod, the list goes on and on of the people that called Jim Rohn their greatest influence and mentor. Let me share with you my story real quick. And this is going to be where we really tie this into selling. Joe, I grew up in a small town. I never went to college. I was doing drugs. Someone once said, how did you get to be the president of Jim Rohn International? Wow, you must have been like class president. Right. And honestly, no, I was doing drugs. And at age 19, I had a significant emotional experience that forever changed my life. And I started a little detail shop. And for those that don't know what that is, that's where you clean cars. And I'd actually, a senior in high school, had a job at the Ford car dealership doing that. So later on, I started a business, Kyle's Car Care, and that turned into a service station, Wilson's Texaco. And, by age 22, 23, the entrepreneur in me started showing up. I now had 10 employees. We're open 24/7. Now we have the local school bus contract, and we're doing everything. And that's when I really kind of knew I was a bit of a marketer. And, but by age 26, I call it a whisper, a God whisper. And, I really encourage people to pay attention to the God whispers. I do this podcast, Success Habits of Super Achievers, and every person I've mentioned has been on there. And there's always these serendipitous moments. There's always these God whispers. There's always these things that took them from one path into another. Usually they had to leave the herd. We're all part of a herd where we grow up and things that are familiar, but more times than not, something happened. They had to go off and had to go create their own thing. And it took them in this odd direction. And at age 26, I heard this God whisper to sell my business, sell my little house, and leave the town I grew up in, that all my family was in. Now, I didn't have a college degree. And when I moved from Vernon, Texas to Dallas, Fort Worth, I did not have a plan. I really had no plan. I didn't have a job lined up. All I kind of knew was being an entrepreneur. So I started this little entrepreneurial business. And through multiple serendipitous things, I don't have time to get into them all, I ended up going to work for a seminar promoter. And little did I know that would, in fact, the first little meeting, there were like 30 people around a table that we were all being interviewed, if you will, auditioning. And these guys were good. They would get up, introduce themselves. They were selling timeshares, or they were a lot of, pastors who are used to speaking, and Jim Rohn had impacted their life. And they got around to me. And of course, I didn't know who Jim Rohn was. I didn't know anything about the seminar world, and I was shaking and terrified, but I was in this bubble. And, I mentioned that whisper, and here I am in this very odd situation, and something I thought, I just got to go with this. In fact, I have nothing to lose. And so I went to work for Jerry Haynes, who is doing these little small public seminars. And if you were going to be successful, you almost had to make 100 calls a day. You had to cold call companies to book yourself to go speak. And the goal was, out of 100 cold calls, you would book 2 to go present at. And then there were all kinds of little subtleties that made the difference between success and failure. One's called the phone call, or what the collateral you would send out after you book the talk. Another one is this pre-sales manager talk, where you get there early and you talk to the manager about what you're going to do. And then, eventually say, at the end of my talk, I'm going to sell tickets to a seminar, and, will you pay half or pay all, or do a payroll deduction? All those type of subtle negotiations you're doing before you ever speak to set yourself up in the best way. Then you do the presentation. And Joe, one of the things that made me unique, I think, versus a lot of the other seminar promoters, was I didn't hard sell. I really led with bringing value. I would just come in, bring a ton of value, and either the truth got them and they wanted to, be part of this event I'm offering, or not. And I really was that, approached it that way. And then afterwards, when I'm ready to leave, I go talk to the manager again, and I would ask for referrals. And I learned what Brian Tracy taught from his Psychology of Selling on CD2, so that would be track 2 now, or and it was incredible. It changed my life. So I followed his script to the T on how to get referrals. And then after that, I would ask for a testimonial. And Joe, I eventually went out on my own and started my own company. And I had this mantra: how do I get 2,000 people in a room? And I would go to Chicago, not know a single person. I had a team of 4 people now, but I had a box of testimonials. And so New York Life, here's the testimonial from the number 1 office in Dallas, the number 1 office in Houston, the number 1 office in Atlanta, the Business Journal, here's all these testimonials. And every city I would go into, I had testimonials of all these companies: Mary Kay, Beauty Control, New York Life. And so, it got easier and easier to book my schedule full and then to go sell tickets. And one of the first events I put on was an event in Atlanta with Brian Tracy and Og Mandino. And this is 1991. I think we had 1,300 people. And that eventually led to me doing Brian Tracy and Jim Rohn. And then in 1993, Jim told me he and his partner had split up. And I said, Jim, if you've split up, I would love to have 100% rights to book you. And Jim had some bad experiences with partnerships. So, he wasn't really wanting to find a partner. I said, well, how about this? How about it'll be my company? I'll pay for everything and I'll hire you. You just give me exclusive rights to book you, and I'll pay you off the top. And then I'll go create product and I'll pay you a royalty. So you'll never spend a penny. You always get paid off the top. And so we did a handshake. And that handshake lasted 10 years before we finally put it in writing. And that first year, 1993, I launched Jim Rohn International. And I took him from 20 speaking dates to 110 and tripled his speaking fee. And I started creating products. I did this thing called the wheel. And maybe we'll have time to talk about the wheel that forever changed my life. It's what I build my marketing around. And, I created hundreds of intellectual properties. Now, if you've ever heard Jim Rohn, you will know that Jim's like the gateway drug to personal development, right? Someone hears Jim and it's like, I get it now. And then they want more. So here I take Jim. I've now booked him 110 dates, and I have all these companies. They're raving fans. And so I started another company called Your Success Store. And that's when I started taking Brian Tracy and Les Brown and Mark Victor Hansen and Dennis Waitley and Jeffrey Gittimer, Nito Quabine, all these speakers into those same companies. And I started creating other products for them as well. And the next thing you know, I've got this huge team, and, we're doing events all over the country. The internet comes, and I got to say, I was probably the first guy to build a 1 million+ email list, and I'm doing big events. This was one we did in Los Angeles, 2004, and had those 3 guys speaking. In 2007, through a series of different things that led me to be open to selling the companies. My kids were teenagers. There were some different dynamics going on in my family that I thought, I have poured it on for so long as a seminar promoter. It's like running all these 400 yard, 400 meter races back to back to back to back to back. And I really was burnt out. And the only guy I would have sold the company to wanted to buy me. He was buying Success Magazine. And by this time, I'm also the agent, not just for Jim, but also for Dennis Waitley and Chris Widener and Ron White and a bunch of other speakers. And the promise to them was, they're going to now put you in Success Magazine. They also had a ton of network marketing companies they represented. It was Video Plus. And so it seemed like a win-win for all my speakers. And, I had a really aggressive profit sharing plan. So I shared 20% of all my profits, including the sale of the company, with my team. And so it was just like a win-win-win for all of us. I had a 5-year non-compete. And then I was on this ski trip in 2013. Some of you might recognize some of these people: John Assaraf and Darren Hardy, Eric Berman, who runs Brian Tracy, Stephen Cox, who just sold Get Lessons for $200 million or something. And we were at John's place in Telluride, and they were all part of a San Diego mastermind. And Darren really wanted me to come. I'd known John since '97. I was coaching Darren at the time. And so I'd known John. And so I was kind of the outsider that came to that group. And they just had so much camaraderie within this framework of a mastermind. And I said, listen, I'm in the non-compete world. I don't know what I want to do. They said, well, you should go start your own little mastermind in Dallas. And sure enough, I did. And that has led to, Phil Collin of Def Leppard and Mark Victor Hansen, and all those people you see, have been guests. You probably recognize a lot of them. Glenn, obviously, you're going to recognize, and Les and Mark and Crystal and Dennis and Mitzi, Phil Collin, Kevin Eastman, a lot of amazing people. I came back out and did this 20-year anniversary with Brian Tracy in 2016. Had some amazing speakers. And then we started doing these books that Joe alluded to. And it's something I'm really proud of. We hit #1. We have celebrity authorities. I have the best writing coach, the best editor. I've sold millions of books as a publisher. I know what I'm doing. And we really help people discover their stories. So that's been fun. And then this podcast was something I've really enjoyed doing. So, that's what I'm doing today. And, but it was really all built around marketing. And I mentioned this when we first started: how much influence do you want to have? Because so oftentimes we diminish ourselves, and to put ourselves out there is a bit difficult. I'm going to go through some things really quick. There might be some notes you want to take a quick screenshot. So I'm going to be really fast with some of these little quotes, but they're so powerful. This is a good one. It doesn't matter what you know. It matters, are you doing it? I know a lot. I know too much, but no one is doing it are two totally different
I think you just slapped me with that one, Kyle. But yeah.
Well, and here's another one I'll add to this, and it's on the opposite side. And it's, we don't have to do everything we know either. It's more important, all the things we should not do, right? So it's okay to know it and not do it, but it's not okay to know it and think you're doing it, right? When you're not. But there's a lot of things we know that we shouldn't do, even though it seems like a good idea. I'm definitely in the camp of less is more, even though I'm a maximizer. So that's a discipline I have to have. Here's a good one. Don't be a critic, be a student. Every time I'm being critical of someone else, I'm taking the eye off my own self-responsibility of what should I be doing. So part of that's being present. The more present I can be, the more I'm focused on what am I called to do? What do I need to do? And it's less important to me what someone else isn't doing or shouldn't be doing. And this is a big, big one. Everyone starts at zero. So at one time, Jim Rohn had never done a speech. At one time, I never had anyone on an email list. At one time, Darren Hardy had never done a talk, or Les Brown. And so whoever it is that's doing what you want to do, everyone started at zero. Maybe you're wanting to do a podcast. Well, guess what? At one time, John Lee Dumas had never done a podcast. So we all know the best time to have planted a tree is actually 20 years ago. Yes, if you had planted that pecan tree, you'd have pecans. But the second best time is today. And I'm a big believer in that. And I'm probably older than you, Joe. I'm pretty sure I am. I'm 60, about to turn 61. And yet I'm gravitating to some principles more than ever that have 5, 10, 20-year timelines. And I'm really turned on by them because I know compounding and things that take time are where the most gold is anyway. I mentioned Jim Rohn. Jim gave me some principles that forever changed my life. Here's a big one. He taught me success is predictable. And this is huge because so many people are going for the quick fix, the get rich quick. They're throwing the Hail Mary. And the reality is, if you plant a tomato seed at the right time, at the right place, and you take good care of it, you water it, you give it sunlight, odds are greatly in your favor. At the end of 6 weeks, you're going to have tomatoes. And that's true with everything you want to accomplish. There's a predictable outcome when you do the right things. So you don't need to shortcut the shortcut. You know what I'm saying? There already is a shortcut. It's follow the proven formula. And when you follow the proven formula, it's almost guaranteed. It's not 100% guaranteed because, as Jim Rohn would say, you can't predict. There could be a tornado that comes through. There could be things that happen, a drought. But odds are greatly in your favor when you do the right thing. At age 27, I caught that pass. And I said, from today forward, I'm going to do things that have predictable outcomes. I'm going to let go of the get rich quick, the things that sound too good to be true. And I'm going to focus on the things that I know will have a predictable outcome. I'm going to skip this one, even though it's one of my favorites. This one changed my life. Bring value to the marketplace. Jim Rohn said, to be successful, learn to bring value to the marketplace. He didn't say learn to be a good networker. He said, learn to bring value. And once I figured that out, I knew, how can I bring value to every relationship or to anything I'm engaged in? So success is a value proposition. When you engage with a customer, how much value can you bring through your product and service? And the more value you can bring, the more success you're going to have. I have a bunch of marketing principles. I think I have time for a couple. And Joe, definitely give me that 5-minute heads up, okay?
Yeah, we're looking at about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
So a lot of people think marketing is being clever. It's being manipulative. There's like the negative connotation to marketing. And I get it because there is a lot of that. Marketing's never been that for me. It's not how clever you can be. It's certainly not about manipulation. I think manipulation hurts you more than it helps you. Marketing's about connecting the dots. What's the most efficient and effective way to connect your products and services with a prospect and customer? And so I want to look at the marketplace. I want to look at the competition. I want to know what my secret sauce is. I want to know the avatar of my customer. I want to be clear on my short and long-term goals. I want to know where my sales come from. I want to know where my competition sales come from. I want to make sure that I'm always focused on the right customers. And then here's a great question. If what you're doing, if everything went perfect, will you have built the business and life you want? A lot of people don't think it that far through. If everything I'm working so hard to do, if it happened, will that take me where I want to go? And I think that has been a strength of mine, Joe, is to, even when I was on the road doing events, we had such a good model. The model supported my lifestyle. It helped me put the least amount of money up to make the most money on the back end. It just had all these thought through things. Today, the model I do is definitely not about making money. It's about supporting a lifestyle and being with people I enjoy being. I mean, what a great business when you get paid to spend time with amazing people, right? You know, to get paid to hang out, like with my inner circle. I do it for me. It makes me better. The best investments I have made have been through people in my inner circle. The best tax planning, the best legal help, the best everything, the best medical fitness. When COVID happened, we just had the smartest people to get paid to do that. And so that's a question I would ask everyone, is think through, what are your short and long-term goals? And is your plan taking you further in that direction? And if not, it's okay to take a step back and think about that. I might have mentioned in the beginning, I believe in fishing and not hunting, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Marketing to me is a combination of tactics and principles. And so, you know, technology is massively impacts the tactics side of marketing. The tactics I used in 1993 to fill up a seminar were totally different than the tactics I used in 2000, which are totally different than what I used in 2016 for a Brian Tracy event, which is totally different than what I use for memory and marketing events, me and my good friend Ron White and I do. The technology is always changing. And our good friend Jeffrey Gitomer said to ask, what's now, what's new, what's next? And, you know, just obviously things constantly are changing. Here's just a list of different tactical things. And people are so caught up in tactics. That's where they spend 99% of their time. But principles are timeless. The same principles I used in 93 and in 2000 and 2016 and today haven't changed. That's why I call myself a principle-based marketer. And that's where I put most of my effort. Here's the number one principle of marketing: have a great product. People put so much effort in to get a customer, but if the product's not great, is it going to become viral? Are they going to get referrals? Or is it going to be a repeat customer? Probably not. Right. Have great service. How many companies spend fortunes to get you in the front door, and then you're shipped off, and even trying to get on a phone call for customer service might take hours. So, you know, if you can do great service, the world will come to you. Here's another one: being relational. A lot of people are transactional. I'm a big believer. Principle-based marketing is about being relational, being strategic. I was talking to someone yesterday who's going to put on a big event, wanted me to speak. And I've always said, I got to have 6 reasons. And I have this criteria. If I'm going to put on an event, there's 6 key things that have to happen. If someone's going to speak on my stage, there's 6 key things to them speaking on my stage. So you want to be incredibly strategic in everything you do, because you want to knock down the dominoes. One thing done correctly, and I'll share one with you in a minute, that made me millions and millions of dollars. And it was just one really good idea, but it was strategic. I want things that are scalable. I don't do one-offs. If it's a one-off, you know, I put a lot of effort, energy into something that's just a one-time payoff. I know I can recreate that, no matter how good or great it is, through something that would actually be scalable, that I can build upon. I want things that are synergistic, and I always want to be building an audience and relationships. When you do principle-based marketing, it has a compounding effect. And there's a lot of tactical stuff people will run by me. And I'm like, if it violates a principle, I'm just not going to do it. And we could talk more about that. I'm going to skip ahead to
the wheel.
Oh my God, we don't have time for the wheel, but the wheel, I drew this circle in 1993, and each spoke had a product or service Jim Rohn had. And then the big question, Joe, is how do you get people on the wheel? And a lot of people focus on their spokes, but I don't focus on getting people on the wheel and taking them around. And so this might be a good screenshot for people. Here's the 5 criteria I have for creating a spoke on your wheel. If I'm going to add a product or service, I want to know, is it part of my core business? Is it strategic and going to knock down the dominoes? Is it part of my secret sauce that makes me unique? Is it focused on the right avatar? Does it fit my goals? I've done a lot with Phil Collin of Def Leppard, really good friend. I've been to his house a dozen times. He's been to my house. He's been on my podcast. I've interviewed him 4 times. We've been backstage at least a dozen times in LA and Dallas. And they've sold 100 million albums. They're big. But my avatar is still Jim Rohn. So I can lead with Phil Collin and it's cool, but that's not really my avatar for a customer. And so everything you do, you have to really know, even though you're good at something or you have, lots of positives. Like I did Chicken Soup for the Entrepreneur's Soul with Mark and Jack. Yeah. But I don't really lead with that because that's not my avatar as much as a Jim Rohn fan is my avatar, or Brian Tracy, who I have, I'm in the top 1 or 2 of people that have worked with those 2 guys.
Yep.
What one thing will have the greatest impact? So I did this little quote book that moved 6 million copies. And it came out of that thing. What are those 5 things to create a spoke? And I thought, what makes Jim special? Well, he was the most incredible wordsmith. He could take the complicated, make it simple, do it with humor. So he was this wordsmith. And I thought, wow, if I could take these things he says on stage and put them into a quote booklet. The other thing about Jim was people loved him and his advocates wanted to promote him. So here's a good little one-liner I hope people capture, and it definitely applies to a sales group. You want to make it easy for your advocates to refer you. Make it easy for them to share your stuff. So I created this little quote book. It took me 9 months because I had to go get these quotes. Jim didn't have a list of quotes, right? There's no Google. So I went through all the seminars, came up with almost 1,000. You open it up, it's a leatherette gold foil. It's got a to and a from, a phenomenal quote, but it left room for people to write a private message and had all these amazing quotes. It had my catalog in the back. And that went on to people bought them 10, 100, 1,000. I was just with Eric Worre 2 weeks ago. He said, Kyle, I bought at least 250,000 of those to give away. Brian Buffini, I was with him in San Diego. Brian said, I bought over 150,000 of those. That was by design. That took a lot of thought to create that quote book. That, nothing changed about Jim. His message didn't change. He didn't come up with new quotes for that. He didn't even know I was doing it, Joe, honestly. I did it on my own. But it was a well thought out idea. I'm not bragging. I'm challenging everyone to think through what is strategic. What's the one thing that's going to knock down the dominoes? Do you know who your avatar is? Do you know what makes you special and unique? What's going to get people to refer you? I ended up creating one for Mark Victor Hansen, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, and Zig Ziglar, and Tom Ziglar still gives them out today.
A little book of big quotes. I saw that one there. Yes. Yeah. I know I have that one. Yes.
This is me with Darren's team recently doing a call, and that's me at his house. I did this book called Passionistas. Erica, part of my LA Inner Circle, an actress that was working so hard but not making any money. And I said, you're in the game. You're having to hunt. How can we fish and get people to come to you? And I had this idea for a book, and sure enough, her whole brand now is Passion to Paycheck, and she's leveraged it for 5 figures. I mentioned Phil Collin of Def Leppard. That was him at my house, me at his house. But, you know, we did this thing called Rockstar Fitness. And again, there's a wheel. And I got 5 minutes of something really good if we have time. If we don't, that's
I was going to say, we just hit the mark for 5 minutes left. So
okay.
We're good.
Well, I think what I'm about to share might be the most important thing to share.
Right.
And it's about your website, testimonials, and social proof. And by the way, I don't have any programs to sell. So it's not like I'm trying to whet people's appetites to go buy a website program or anything like that. These are just things that I think are important. And our good friend, Jeffrey Gittimer, who I met in 1993, Jeffrey and I've done so much together, and he popped into my Philly inner circle. I do them in Dallas, LA, and Philly. And he asked the most brilliant question. Now, if he asked you, Joe, did Kyle say I'm brilliant? Deny it, okay? I didn't say it. But no, you know, he asked the most brilliant question. And here it is. I hope everyone catches the pass. He said, where is home? And I said, you know, Jeffrey, you know, I live in Dallas. He goes, so you're going to give people your address? And I'm like, well, no. He goes, your home is your website. Your home is social media. You want your website working for you 24/7. You want your social media presence working for you 24/7. And it's not just people that you can find, but people can find you. And I was doing a pretty good job, I think, at the time on my website, but that really shook me up. And I made it an important thing to make sure my website's constantly a place where people can find me. It can be working for me. I love Instagram, honestly, because Instagram, you can have, you know, people can see your whole life. You know, they can just scroll down and hear your post. Facebook, not as much. I'm an Instagram fan, but you can make it where you're telling a story. So for your website, and I think people should screenshot this. Here are the 4 things I think you need to have at the top of the fold before you ever even scroll down. These 4 things. When I think about it, Joe, these are the same 4 I had in 2000. When I started JimRohn.com, it was kind of the same mindset, although we didn't have top of the fold, but these were the same 4 things then. So I haven't changed. I think these 4 are still the most important things. Number 1, you want some sort of mystique in branding. Number 2, you want 2 to 3 to 4 taglines with key bullets. You don't want a paragraph of copy. No one's going to read it. You want 2 or 3 things that shout out to people what you do, who you are, or why it's important. It could include your secret sauce or avatar. Number 3, you want some social proof. So people go, oh, okay, wow. And number 4, you want some sort of opt-in, permission-based way for people to connect with you. So there's an example of my bullets. Again, Jim Rohn's my biggest avatar. So I say founder of Jim Rohn International, strategist, marketer, speaker, publisher. And I really wrestle over what to keep. I don't really put, you know, author. I don't have pictures of all the books. I do have that Jim Rohn testimonial below it. And then I have this picture of different people. And if you hover over any of those, it's going to have their testimonial. So you hover over Gittimer, it's got the testimonial, or Mark or Darren Hardy or Jim Rohn. And then for the branding and mystique, I don't want generic images. I want you. People buy authenticity. They don't buy companies. They buy people. They don't buy fake. They buy authentic. So it needs to be you. You might screenshot this. This is the 3 keys to the tagline. I'll count to 4.
Shocked. Yes.
Social proof. I've already kind of mentioned that. And here's the other thing. So I do this a lot on Instagram, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, I just pop up people, you know, because some people are fans of Duck Dynasty or Shark Tank or ClickFunnels or BNI or Starbucks with Howard Schultz or the Goo Goo Dolls or Styx or Switchfoot. And those are little hooks. And I swear every time I've ever spoken, people come up to me afterwards and they'll say, wow, you really met the Duck Dynasty guy? Or you really met Johnny Resnick of the Goo Goo Dolls or Robin Sharma. And so I'm constantly sprinkling in hooks. So I have my core message, but I never mind putting in little hooks to get people's attention because everyone resonates with different things. I'm going to give Gittimer credit for this. Gittimer said this quote, I think, pretty close to it. He said, the goal is not to brag. No, this is not a Gittimer quote. There's a better one. Here's what it is. When you say something good about yourself, it's bragging. When someone else says it, it's proof. So you want social proof. So be a collector of testimonials. I'm constantly littering everything I do with testimonials. Newey Scruggs, 8-time Emmy winner on NBC Sports here in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's got a copy of the Success Habits book in the background that he was in. So I do these different books. I have a couple more. I think we can wrap it up there. And if you have any questions, and by the way, I do want to give everyone copies of the books whenever that is appropriate. Jeff.
Absolutely. You can do that now.
So I'm going to stop my screen, right?
Yeah.
Or you can stop it for me.
I stopped it for you. We are back.
Awesome. Okay, well, let me do it real quick. So I did this book called Success Habits of Super Achievers, 80 different entrepreneurs and authors, a whole back page of celebrity authorities. You'd recognize every one of these names: Phil Collin, Darren, Les. We do have women in them. I'm sorry I don't have quite as many because back in the day, those were the people I was working with, happened to be men. But Linda Seption, who's one of the biggest music agents, Lisa Haisha, her husband, and her, creator of the Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, they've hosted my mastermind at their house twice. Lisa's been in 3 of my books. Ron White.
Yes.
Mike Amy, founder of Act Software. Amy Novotny, I think you guys might know her. Colonel Tim Cole, one of my best friends. And so anyway, to get the book, the digital copy, plus all these other books, I'll include them, plus a bunch of interviews. All they have to do is send me an email. I do this differently, Joe.
Okay.
Send me an email to info@kylewilson.com. info@kylewilson.com. That's pretty easy. Put Joe, put Send Success Habits and put Joe. But listen, here's why I do it this way, Joe. If Joe's impacted your life, or if Jim Rohn has impacted your life, or Brian Tracy or Gittimer, tell me about it. I want to know. And that's why I ask people to send me an email. And then I will send you a link to access all the stuff. It's all free. And but tell me a little bit about yourself when you send the email.
That's amazing. Kyle, thank you so much. It's just, well, I right now, okay, so here I'm going to throw out there, because why I'm on screen, I get to talk to you. So I'm going to tell you right now that if everything happened the way you wanted, would your life look the way you wanted it to look at the end? I mean, that hit. I was like, so again, the answer is what? We chase the dollar and then realize we've given up all of lifestyle to chase the dollar. Okay. And it's like, well, what's left at the end? Keep chasing, right? And grab the next one. And so when you put everything out there, I'm just like, okay, let's stop and see. Because like one of my goals for the year is that I have to add 8 more passive income streams into what I do. So I'm looking for what can be out there running. And then I look over here and go, okay, branding, tagline, social proof, opt-in needs to be on the website. And I'm like, okay. And then I had to take another note, which was the no stock photos, right? People buy you, get yourself up on the screen. And I'm like, right. But again, I look and say, damn.
And that's just connecting the dots is all
Right.
that is. It's just connecting the dots of how do I resonate with stock photos? A 16-year-old in India can put stock photos up of apartment. I have a lot of real estate investors in my world. They can go create a website that says, make millions of dollars as a coach. It's got to be you, and then be authentic with you. What is it you have? Don't try and be someone you're not. And My prayer every day is to attract who I'm supposed to attract. Like I got to tell you, I have zero fear of loss of not attracting the person that I can't help or I don't want, or they don't want me, right? So once you can get really clear that you have a gift to help people, but not everyone, right? Not everyone loves John Mayer, as great as he is. Not everyone loves Steven Spielberg. Not everyone loves Brian Tracy, and that's okay. And they're certainly not going to love me or love you or love anyone listening to this. You want to attract the people that have you. And I'm so glad you caught the pass on that first point, Joe, because I'm convinced if we take the time, we will discover the idea. What a shame if this would have never come to me. Right. 6 million people. And it's made me at least $10 million. And it was an idea. But I was doing what Jim Rohn taught. Jim Rohn would quote the Bible, but in his own Jim Rohn way. He said, if you search, you will find. But rarely does a good idea interrupt you. You have to stop and search. And to your point, we're chasing instead of stopping and asking and being open. And I submit to you, you can build exactly the life you want. Now, it might take a bit of time, but you can be happy during that process anyway. I've been mega wealthy and I've been mega broke. And I wasn't a lot happier mega wealthy, honestly. The happiest I've been in my life is when I'm doing stuff that fulfills me, right? And so, I think the more clear we can get on, it's not about arriving. It's not about arriving. It's about the process. So why not? And Jim Carrey said it better than I said it, but where he talked about nothing worse than, he said his dad, was unsuccessful, not doing what he didn't want to do.
Right.
Or wasn't happy doing what he didn't want to do. You might as well just go for what you want to do. Now that's a discovery process in itself though, right? To figure out what we really want to do.
So everything you said, and Charles Coachman came up with, not everybody loves Joe. That's what he came up with that. What is that about? Yeah. So, but what I will tell you,
how could that be?
Yeah, exactly. That was so wrong. I was so going the other way with the mindset. But no, but I think, again, you have to hear things multiple times before it sinks in and to go through. And it's one of those things where I look and I say, if a video I have goes viral, it happens to me spitting out who's authentically me.
Right.
And so then I go and I put myself out, whether, in any arena, and I say, this is what I really feel about this, that one will get traction. Where the one that you go and say, and my wife calls it, yogurt, where it's just bland and it goes with everything. So when you go put out the vanilla kind of thing, like to her, it was George Strait. She goes, George Strait, great country singer, but everything he sings is just in the middle of the road. Right. It's like there is no major opinion. There is no, it's not too good, too bad, too anything. It's just vanilla and it's yogurt. And so when I look at that, I go, okay. And so then I find myself going back to, let's keep everything to the yogurt side of things. Don't go off the deep end. But like you said, hey, if it's not my person, they're not going to be attracted to me. And I don't have to fight with them when they're trying to be my client.
Yeah, you can do both. I'm a big believer, a lot of people say you got to post on Facebook every day. And I totally disagree. I think I post when I feel it, and when I feel it, I do. When I don't, I don't. A, that makes me happy. So that's the most important. So I check the most important box. But B, some people do say, Kyle, are you okay? Are you sick? Did Kyle die? And I notice when I haven't posted and I get like triple the engagement. Right. And so, but just trying to be authentic. And now, again, if someone's lacking discipline, yeah, they need to probably post more. But the minute it becomes, there's something to be said for all sides of this, but you got to find what works for you, I guess, is the bottom line. But sometimes I'm very much yogurt and to be George Strait, that's pretty cool. And then there's other times I'm, I'm Pearl Jam, right? Or Ted Nugent. Let's just go do it. But not very often.
No, I love it. So I thank you so much, because I know you carved this out of your day to come in, and you brought the heat. And so there's a whole bunch of comments that are coming up. Yeah, Margot threw out Cardi B. You could be Cardi B. Yeah. So
talking to you or talking to who? Oh, got it, Margot.
Yeah. Margot said you could be Cardi B if you're going to go off the deep end on something. So, but that is so true. But I want to say thank you so much, Kyle. Everybody, look, it's in the comments. I put it up there. You need to send an email to info@kylewilson.com, right? Put send success habits, and then mention a story or something that has impacted you. And it's very easy for you to say, Kyle, all the gold you just dropped on us is going to impact us to go through. So again, I would say go out there, send the email, get the book, The Success Habits of Superachiever. He offered it to you, plus a bunch of other stuff, right? And again, guys, I'm going to tell you, like I tell you all the time, when I do bring somebody up here, it's up to you to continue that relationship. It's up to you to engage with them and say, like, I literally went to Instagram and sent a picture of the four of us on the screen here already to Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I already follow them. So it's like, okay, boom, let's go ahead and get it. And to me, Instagram's the preferred method, right? They hate me, but it's still.
Well, hey, two things on that. I'm Kyle Wilson, Jim Rohn, because Instagram is my favorite. Kyle Wilson, Jim Rohn. I love it. I'm more robust on there. And hey, listen, on the email, I'm just saying this. I feel like I have a really good email I'm going to send them back if they're looking for good templates on how to market. I did a Facebook ad or Instagram ad that blew the doors down, giving away the book. And this is an email I send them, and then they go to a landing page that I think is pretty well designed. So again, back to connecting the dots, right? Even if they don't care about the book, they might be interested in how I give away something free, and I don't try and bait and switch, but I do let people know what I have, and I don't put them in a funnel, but I do give them a ton of value. What's that?
You have a wheel.
Yeah, they go on my wheel, but not a funnel. And I even say that. I even say you're not going to be put in a funnel. You'll get my messages. But hey, if you want to learn more about what I'm doing, I list those things. And I've gotten great feedback on that. So even from a connecting the dots standpoint, because I have shared kind of this template with a marketing group I have, right? And so that's another reason just to go get the book.
Agreed. And Jerry Eisenhower said, for some reason, I don't remind him of Cardi B. I don't understand. I can see it.
Just as long as someone doesn't say Kanye, right?
Right, exactly. I can just interrupt you the whole time you're talking. Go through. But no, thank you very much, Kyle. I appreciate you. Margot, if you have a question, you have Kyle right here. Netta, if you have a question, you can ask a question right here because you're on the screen. And so if not, I would like to tell you all to go out, send an email to Kyle, but also go out and sell something.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Take care.